dear Imerians, to another episode of Immerpreneur, where we learn from successful entrepreneurs. Finally, this is the episode we've all been waiting for. This episode is jam-packed with knowledge of things you won't ever get anywhere else. Now, before I reveal to you what it is, I'd like to introduce to you another special host to join me in this episode today. You all know this simple man, but his integrity speaks 1,000 words, and his actions are all meant to fulfill his life purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for our very own Group Executive Vice President of Imery, my dear mentor and boss, Mr. Yap Huayan. Welcome to the show, Mr. Yap.
Thank you very much for bringing me onto this show. Now, we have been planning this segment for a pretty long time, I believe, and it is my intention to actually invite more persons into this show to share more on the success of an entrepreneur. And I am humble and blessed to have known this friend of mine. His name is Mr. Alvin Fu, who recently been voted one of the top 10 influencer on artificial intelligence on the Twitter platform. And he is also a very, very good friend of mine, whom I have known more than 30 years. And he is currently the managing director of Reprise in China. So without further ado, I would like to bring this fine gentleman onto this show and let us learn more about the state of the information technology and artificial intelligence all around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Alvin Fu.
Mr. Alvin Fu, tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe your expertise, and what you do as a managing director of Reprise China.
Okay, my name is Alvin. I have been in China for about 15 years now. This is my 15th year in China. Yes, obviously I've known YN for the last, Mr. Yap, as probably you may call him Mr. Yap, yeah? Known him for like this is like almost 32 years. We started off, in college together. We did law together. We slept in the same room together as well. And so our history goes a long way back, Don't get me wrong when I say we slept together. We only happen to be sleeping in the same room. So my job at Reprise and what I do is that I run the digital agency for China. In the last 15 years in China, I've been focusing in digital marketing, anything around tech, anything around marketing. So we coin that term MarTech and AdTech, which is advertising tech technology. And so my job is to help a lot of corporate clients. These are the blue chip brands who have who have a market in China, and they need people like us to help them to kind of provide them guidance and also advice and also consultancy as to how to bridge that gap to China and how to tackle the Chinese market, and obviously to then advertise and market their products to them on a large scale in China.
So probably, who are some of your major clients that you have worked with, Alvin?
Our clients ranges because we are a global agency. So our clients ranges from all verticals. So think of it as every vertical we have a client. So like for beer client, we have got Carlsberg. For toy client, we have got Lego. For pharmaceutical, We have got Johnson & Johnson. So in every vertical, we will have one client, because all the agencies around the world, we are not supposed to be working with competing brands. So as a result, every holding group of all the 4A's agencies in the world can only hang on to one client, i.e. if you hang on to Carlsberg, you can't work on Budweiser, right? So this is how we work. So in every vertical, we normally have one large client that sits on it. So this is how we work globally. And the same we work in China as well.
Awesome. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Alvin. I heard that you were also voted as top 10 influencers on AI on Twitter. How does it feel to influence the world in such a way?
Now, people always start to think of me as, oh, Alvin, you must be a scientist. You must be a data scientist. You must be something that you've done previously, a PhD in data or PhD in artificial intelligence. The reality is that it is not true. I don't hold any degree or any qualification in technology. I don't hold any qualification in artificial intelligence. But what I do is that I've done so much of self-reading and also self-learning. And at the same time, I also have networked with so many people within the artificial intelligence fraternity that I've actually, acquired a lot of this knowledge by myself through, again, as I've said, through network with people and also, self-reading. And as a result of that, right, that a lot of that I read, I think it will go to waste, right, if I don't share it. So this thing has probably gone back maybe a couple of years already. I would reckon maybe 3-4 years that I've actually gone on to say, I've did so much in terms of reading it. I did so much in terms of trying to understand, right? And I think the best thing I can do is that to share the good news, just like how religion will share the good news, will spread the good news, right? I then go and spread a lot of these good news. So the things that I share doesn't just cover artificial intelligence AI. It also covers all kinds of emerging technology. So you can think of it as 5G being one, smart city being the other one, Internet of Things, anything that has got an impact to the future. So any technology that has an impact to the future is what I study a lot. And as a result, I share that on social media, both on Twitter and also on LinkedIn on a very large scale. And because of the sharing, the number of sharing and the frequency of sharing, that there's a group of companies out there that then go and vote and also go and like select of which of these influencers, right, have done enough of work to influence the world, right? Then it kind of rank them. So again, I think they must have, because I hashtag a lot of my a lot of my sharing. So they may have counted this hashtag and then they pull it into a ranking. So
Wow.
so I think in terms of being part of this ranking is really not so much how good I am in artificial intelligence, is how much of activities that I've actually generated out of sharing. But obviously, I do have a decent understanding of AI. But the good thing is that learning them is one thing, and also the ability of being able to share the good news. So at least people now know more about AI than before.
Wonderful, Alvin, because the longest time I known you, we have actually graduated in a degree in law, and to witness your transformation from the legal industry all the way to what you are good in today is something that even as a friend, I'm truly proud and admire about you.
Well, I don't think this transformation is just myself. I'm very certain this transformation happens to you, right? We did law, we were supposed to take on the legal trajectory and then become, either a legal counsel or either that we will become a legal consultant. And obviously, but the world is so fluid this day, right? That we learn, and a lot of time I always tell my kids, I said. My kids always ask me, I said, Dad, what should I be? What should I be focusing in on? I say it's very difficult because a lot of jobs that will exist tomorrow, right, don't exist now. It's very hard
Agree.
for you to start to plan what you want to be in the future. But the one thing that I always tell them to build is at least, is to learn continuously. So just like you and me, we are learning continuously. So as we learn continuously, that will take on the so-called transformation path that you may end up like yourself getting into your space or myself getting into this space. So the continuous learning in us, right, will help us build, that so-called future. Then I wouldn't know what they will become. I will know, no, like a lot of jobs these days that we talk about AI, we talk about even jobs as simple as web developer, app developer. These jobs didn't exist when we were in university, man. There was no such thing called social media. At the best, we had email. And even using email at that time was like, wow. It was like a big thing. I mean, we didn't want to have mobile phone for kids like
Agree.
us because mobile phone was like so expensive then, right? Like right now, everyone has a phone, right? Anyone would easily have a phone compared to before. So a lot of jobs that I think will exist, like we talk about maybe 5G is right now. Maybe in 10 years' time, it's going to be 6G. At some point, I believe, right, the G will disappear because when the bandwidth becomes so huge, I don't think we need to talk about G's anymore because by then, everything will be so seamless. So continuous learning is actually what I believe, right, is the right track for anybody because the pace is just going to get faster. Today maybe AI. Tomorrow, God knows what's going to be. Someone is going to build something in your body, or even what Elon Musk from Tesla has always been saying. That he built a company called Neuralink that allows machine to interact with our brains. So, i.e., can you think of us being a part cyborg? Think of Terminator 2, right? Terminator, where we are part human at the same time, part machine. And that's happening already, and without us realizing, our mobile phone is like it has turned us into a cyborg. The only thing, the mobile phone is not connected to us, but we're using it as an extension to our mind already. Extension in messaging to people, communicating with people, instructing the lights to be switched on, the cars to be switched on, right? Now think of it, right? At some point, if that phone connects to our tissue, connects to our brain, like how Bluetooth connects to all this machine, right? And I'm quite certain at some point that we will be talking to machines seamlessly. Right now, maybe not possible yet, but technologies are being built to connect machines and also human together.
That's actually
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, that's actually quite a very big revelation, and it's going to change the world, in the way that we see it right now. And if you think about it, how do you see AI going into Africa? I mean, what is the impact and its consequences?
Well, in simple terms, is that I think AI has been embraced all over the world. I mean, simple AI, it's Google search. If you search on Google, right, through machine learning, the machine is like predicting what you're gonna type next. Like when you do a search, right, somehow you just imagine, Google knows what you're searching. Like, but basically what it does is that it's predicting. So the artificial intelligence is actually learning your behavior. So as you continue to type more, as you continue to ask more, the machine knows, kind of like predict, that you're going to ask something around this space. So that's one form of artificial intelligence. Another form of artificial intelligence, right? These are very, very elementary, right? Is the recommendation on Amazon. Now, when you go and buy something on Amazon, as you're purchasing something on Amazon, then there's going to be another bunch of recommendation at the bottom. Tells you that, oh, person who bought this may also want to buy this at the bottom. So all these, again, is also through machine learning. So the machine learns that people who have bought item A, there's a great probability that you'll buy item B. This has already been used for years. It's just that none of us are aware. I mean, most people are not aware that it's being used in advertising. All the advertising that's being served to you, right? The machine learns about your behavior and then try and serve an advertising, right? Advertisement, right? That's most relevant to you. And all this is done by machine. I mean, no individual can sit behind the machine and start to like think of what Mr. Yap has actually, watching right now, and then I serve yet. It will be too slow because all these are being served in hundreds of milliseconds. So only machines can do that at scale. Now, so when you ask the question, right, what's the impact? AI is the one thing that can impact almost everything, right? It has already impacted us, but just that we don't realize it. In fact, your phone, right, some of the feature on your phone actually already works on AI. Some of the apps are powered by AI. Some of the recommendation news app are powered by AI. So the so-called AI impact on the country is actually huge. Again, and it depends on which layer. So the government is a government layer. The government layer would be for countries like Africa when they start building smart cities, right? It could be as simple as traffic. We saw this in China where the entire city of Hangzhou, where Alibaba is based, right, is actually powered by the so-called brain. So the brain is actually a supercomputer designed and developed by Alibaba to actually run the entire city. I.e., what it can do is that it can actually scan through the number of cars that's actually moving within the city, going in, going out. Where's most traffic, the location where there's heavy traffic, and then even the traffic lights, right, is powered by the AI, right, to then adjust, right, to the traffic condition. I mean, this is just one form of right. So if you think about it, right, it can apply to a lot of things. Yeah, It can even in Africa apply to building out infrastructure for e-commerce, infrastructure for a startup community. So I think the application is a lot, and it has the most relevant, because the good thing about Africa is this: Africa is coming from behind. So a lot of things in Africa, it's not going to take the similar track like most developed nations, because it's going to leapfrog. Like some country will probably leapfrog from 3G to 5G. Some country won't even have a good infrastructure and will leapfrog straight to 5G. I was on a call with United Nations Economic for Africa just 2 weeks ago. We were looking at this broadband, the situation with broadband. We're talking about COVID-19, and one of the issues that the African nation is suffering is that, number one, the availability of broadband. Let's not even talk about AI, right? Availability of broadband is very limited, and not only that it's limited, it's not stable. It's not stable. I remember there are a couple of participants. These participants are ministers. They have to like excuse themselves because their call dropped out. Imagine this. These are ministers who are at their ministry, who was calling in on we were not using Zoom, we were using Cisco, right? So imagine we were using WebEx, Cisco, and it wasn't because of the platform that was not stable, but because of the, again, bandwidth being an issue. But again, as I'm saying, there's a lot of challenges between Africa, but at the same time, it's also opportunity. There's an opportunity to leapfrog. There's an opportunity to get better. And the best way to get better is to use technology, because that's why it's termed, you term it as transformation. I always like to coin it as digital transformation. Now, digital transformation is how do you use best use of technology to then improve user experience, to then improve customer experience. So there are several technology that we talk about, but each and every one of these, right, can help to transform many things digitally. So again, one form of retail would be, if you use digital on retail, it becomes e-commerce, right? Anything that was purchased offline, that you go to a shop and purchase, you put digital on it, you put a digital layer on it, right? It automatically becomes e-commerce. I mean, that's simple, right? So there's a lot of opportunity in Africa because it's a growing market, and at the same time, people are just coming into that whole new digital era. I think that's great opportunity.
I couldn't agree more with what Elvin has stated. And whether you are in Africa or in America or in Russia, I think AI technologies are everywhere. It's just a matter of time before it picks up. And like what Elvin has said, I totally agree. Even in Africa, when people think that it will take a longer time for technology to be matured, but because of the leapfrog, the investments that they have to put in, they might as well just invest in the latest development. Right. Just like a phone, if I'm new to a handphone, I would not start with buying and looking for the oldest Nokia phone in the market. I will just invest and go for the latest phone in the market today. So thank you, Erwin, for this insight.
It's all over the news that soon call centers all around the world will start shifting to AI. It's not just the call centers. Actually, all the other jobs that are more dependent on manpower are now slowly shifting to AI. Now, in that regard, does AI contribute to the loss of jobs, or how do you think it's going to be something that will eventually conquer the world?
Well, what you're actually saying is not just AI. Basically, what you're saying that, will automation, right, rip off, the job from people, right? The answer is that yes and no. Yes, it will rip off from people with jobs, especially jobs that are, repetitive. So I tell you, the reality is that if you're doing the same work every day, that job is very likely to be taken over by machine. So I give you an example. Someone who drive a car, taxi driver, Uber driver. These are repetitive. The machine can do better. Someone who works at the cashier, someone who do waiters and waitresses job. It's the job that is repetitive, right? The same job over and over again. That job will be easily taken over, right? If you compare that job that requires thinking, right? Creative thinking, developing of insight, analytics minds, right? These stuff, you need people, you need like continually thinking. That job is very unlikely to be taken over. I'm not saying machines cannot become self-aware. Machine cannot be conscious. They are developing machines that can be conscious, that can be self-aware. I mean, very near human, not human, but very, very near human. But you still cannot take away those jobs that easily. But long-term wise, I think AI will complement human. Now, just like how industrialization did not kill agriculture, right? Agriculture is still there. We're still having food on our table. Industrialization has improved agriculture, correct? If you look at what industrialization has done is that it has improved agriculture. Because of industrialization, we have better food. We have got more choices, right? Because of food processes. Before it was just rice, flour, right? But because of industrialization, we go into food processes, right? So that's one example. So if you look at historical, when you even look at technology, so now let's look at another era. Technology that came in did not just completely, obsolete or outdate the industrialization. It's still there. Mm-hmm. What technology has done is that it improves industrialization, right? By creating automated supply chain network, by improving production, by improving so many things within industrialization. So therefore, every different era, from my opinion, based on my thinking, is that it improves previously. So with AI is going to put intelligence right into technology. So suddenly now your technology gets better. Now, if you look at your Google, I mean, I'm sure both of you as you Google search, if you compare Google today and Google 20 years ago when they started, it was very different already. Google 20 years started, you literally have to input everything. It won't predict anything for you. You just input and it will search for you. So it was very simple. Just search the data, search the inventory, search the backend, right? But today, right, when you look at Google search, right, it's trying to think ahead. It's thinking ahead. At some point, I think it's not just going to, like, you don't even need to input because it's going to tell you. For example, right, imagine if you're using the Amazon Echo or using Google Home at home, and he knows that you've been buying, say, toothpaste every month, every end of the month, and come to the end of the month, the machine is going to ask you, Gladys, you should be running out of toothpaste soon. Do you want me to make an order for you right now? So instead of you input, the machine is going to take one step ahead and say, hey, you may be running out of toothpaste. Should I put that into your basket? So I think that's where the world is going to become very soon. Not like 20 years from now. I think it's going to be very soon. The machine is going to play a proactive role in your life. That's why when you're talking about robotic, we're talking about robots. We're talking about, having so-called machines trying to service us. We're not there yet, but we're gradually getting there because the machines are getting better in terms of developing, again, not machines that was like stupid looking robots. These are machines, right, that can pair up with you because it knows your behavior. Again, I don't want to get into the issue with privacy because sometimes for the machines to get better, you have to give out, you have to give up privacy. I.e., a simple way of saying that is that in order for Google to know you better, you have to let Google read your email. You have to let Google look at your searches. You have to let Google look at what you're purchasing. Now, again, those are giving up a lot of privacy. Yeah, but at the same time, by giving up all that, I mean, if you're giving the thinking is that, I trust Google, I think they will do no wrong and all that shit, right? So Google will understand you and then will then come back to you with lots of recommendation, just like Amazon, same thing. But again, I was saying, this is the cross, the junction between how much information that you want to share, because the more you share, the more relevant it gets. But again, if the more you share, the more it knows about you. It knows about a lot of things that you don't want other people to know about you, right? So I think the future is going to be very complementary. But again, I need to stress this. We need to be very careful because there's a thing called, maybe a bit deep, singularity. singularity is that when it becomes, machine becomes super AI. Think of super AI, think of Terminator, right? Think of Terminator. Remember, the machine became so powerful that it kills all the people to save himself. Very similar. So we need to have some framework, like Elon Musk will always say that we need to have a regulatory body to then regulate what you can do with AI. Because if you give the AI too much power, I'm just giving an example, right? This is just hypothetical. Now, if you tell the machine, how do I solve pollution? Or you tell the machine, go solve the pollution problem of the earth. I think the first thing it will do, it will kill all the people. Because the reality is that we are the biggest problem to the pollution. We are the biggest problem to climate change. So for the machine, right, if you ask them to save the planet, the first thing it will do is kill the people. So I think again, that's why there are some AI thinkers who said that we need to be very careful in developing this technology. That if you give so much of that power to machine to decide, but again, like I said, this is like years and years away, where machine has to become so singular and so powerful. We call it super AI. Yeah? When you reach that point, the machine can then think on its own. Good, bad, I'm not sure. Yeah. So there are two schools of thought. Yeah. Some think, oh, great, man. The machines can be another YN. The machine could be another Gladys, right? But then again, if you give a lot of that power to the machine, for the machine to self-sustain means sometimes is to kill you, because you are the problem. We are the problem to many problems, right?
A lot of our audience has actually been asking and very, very curious about the 5G. And there have been reports that people have been destroying whatever infrastructure that was built in terms of the 5G. Now, we'd all like to have a clarification about what 5G is in brief, how it differs from 4G, and what do we expect once it rolls out to its consumers, and what's its impact for the consumer.
I mean, think of 5G as a faster version of 4G. So, I mean, being a mobile consumer, most people expect things to be faster, just like how you would expect your laptop to be faster, your phone to be faster. So, 5G is just a faster version of 4G. Obviously, it will change the dynamics. It will provide a new playground for many new startups, many big unicorns, and many successful companies to be built on top of it. But the reality is that it's a faster version. In terms of speed-wise, I think it's about at least 10 times faster than 4G. So, i.e., you can download any high-resolution video like in minutes or in seconds, depending how big of the space that you need. But the size of the file. But in reality, is that it's bigger in speed. You can download faster. But from the business perspective, there's going to be a lot more new companies that's going to be built on top of it. Just like how companies like Uber, companies like Airbnb was built on 4Gs, right? And some of the internet gaming company that was built on 4G. With 5G, then you may even have a much richer gaming, multimedia gaming services that maybe runs on virtual reality, that runs on augmented reality. So again, once you step up to a faster infrastructure, that will opens up a lot of opportunity. I know a lot of people have been talking about whether there's a linkage between 5G and also COVID. Anyone that thinks that that there's a linkage must be a fool, man. I mean, I cannot see how the rollout of 5G, right, would have an impact on a disease, right, that's actually being transmitted. Again, WHO has said this many times, right? It's actually from person to person. It's not from machine to person. So anyone that think that technology has an impact and all has a linkage to COVID, right, must be. I mean, I think you must be a fool, man.
Well, it's not just the COVID. A lot of people have been speculating that it's also related to cancer, Alzheimer's disease. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more why it's not so.
Uh, well, the same question, the same answer as I posted before. I mean, there have been always have been people talking about not even 5G, our phone emitting, right? Things that can also cause us cancer.
Mhm.
But there's no proof. So far, many people have been using the phone for the last 35 years, and there's no clear proof, right, that it can cause disease or it can cause any kind of sickness. So that argument with mobile phone has been around for like years, right? And again, I think this is the same argument that people are saying, oh, because of 5G, because of the frequency, so we are very likely. Again, there's no proof. And well, I'm a believer in science, and I think anything that we need to point out, right? I think we need to make sure that there's clear cut evidence, solid evidence to point to the case. Right now, as we speak, right, again, it's just people making claims and also accusation. That's really baseless.
But Elwin, why do you think all these rumors or speculations surface in the first place? Is it because they refuse to embrace technology and just purely basing it on some speculations to avoid embracing technology? I mean, some of these rumors even surface from China.
Yeah, I mean, there are always going to be people who disagree, right? Just like, there's people who believe in God, and there's people who does not believe in God, right? So I think it's just a clear case of people who does not believe in it, or people who are not supporter in it, right? There are some people who are just not supporter of 5G. I don't know what is their intention. I do not know what's their purpose, but let's look at the majority, right? I believe these are very small group of people, which we should not, be too concerned about. Because again, I don't think there's any group of people, no matter what's the size, right, that can slow down, right, the embracement of technology. I think technology will continue to progress, and it will only get faster. If you don't jump on that boat, if you choose to like be on the sideline, then you will always be on the sideline.
Mhm.
I totally agree. I think what we are witnessing is the history repeating itself from the time when the first industrial revolution started in the Britain, when when things are being industrialized, people were already talking about health crisis, pollutions. So I think it's just a matter of time, like what you have said before technology. This fourth industrial revolution will really go to its peak.
Looking at the economic, sociological difference, Africa is still a developing country in the economic books. Are they ready to accept 5G in Africa, do you think?
I think every part of the world is actually ready for 5G. I don't know of anyone. Again, I was saying, I go back to the very simple. Now, if you give people 5G now, let's take a very remote area. Let's take a forest in Amazon. People have never tried anything. We give them 5G now, they will start with 5G. So they literally just leapfrog from having that string attached phone, like you use your ear to listen to each other, right? And they go straight to 5G. I think once they reach 5G, right, I think they will dump that string phone, that they plug to the ear and speak to someone on the other side of the tree. So I think if you ask me, the people who, if you introduce 5G, or whether it's going to be 5G, 4G, you name them, right? Now, the readiness is there because, and especially in Africa has tasted mobile phone services already, right? And now you give them, right, something even better. I think the question now is that the country needs to look into this in terms of pricing. Now, if you introduce something and it's way, way, way beyond the reach of many people, then it's as good as having no service. So the price point needs to be just a sweet spot for everyone to enjoy it. And then that will create scale. And once you create scalability, right, and the market will just explode. And just like how markets like around Asia has exploded over 4G. Like 4G now is everyone have 4G, right? People don't talk about, oh, do you have 4G on your phone, right? And you may ask that question maybe 3 years ago, but nobody asked like, do you have 4G on your phone? But maybe the next wave will be like, do you have 5G on your phone? I think every nation, every country, be it Southeast Asia, be it Africa, or even Latin America, they're all ready for. They're all looking for. That's why Huawei, as an organization, is actually aggressively pushing out their 5G platform, which is a lot more. Again, there are a lot of people who talk nasty about Huawei, but in terms of their offering, in terms of their platform, in terms of their robustness of how they would then roll out 5G, right, is perhaps they are at the forefront of 5G development globally. So again, I think Huawei has got a huge footprint in Africa, and I think Africa would go into 5G very quickly.
So if in the near future your prediction is correct, how do you see 5G impacting the MLM industry? The MLM business is traditionally a people-to-people business. So basically, is there going to be like a shift, a paradigm shift to digital media?
I want to take you back to digital transformation, right? And I think this is also a perfect time to talk about this because we're facing with COVID, right? Now, COVID has taught us social distancing. So for the first time, all three of us are like on a different room using Zoom. And I'm very certain moving forward, right, we are going to have more and more people sitting, talking about, presenting any topic, could be selling your product as well on Zoom, right? And well, if that is going to become, I don't think COVID is just going to be, oh, the lockdown ends, let's come out and party. I don't think it will be like that. I think, it will be some form of social distancing until vaccination. And before vaccination, right, I don't think people are okay about meeting face-to-face all the time. Maybe once in a blue moon. And even that, right, there's going to be a lot of concern with most people. Mm-hmm. Now, if that is the case, right, then social media, video call like Zoom, and all the digital service become even more important and critical to their business, because you now need social media to reach out to people, video call to talk to people, face to face, or even internet call. We call it the regular call, phone call to talk to people, because the next 2 years I reckon is going to be lesser meeting face to face, and that's going to change not just your business but everyone's business, including my business. Now my business, we don't meet clients anymore because the clients are not willing to meet, and we are also not so willing to meet, right? So essentially what we are telling our clients is, why don't we meet on Zoom? Why don't we meet on whatever, Microsoft Team or whatever solutions out there? So this is what's happening right now. So now social media and all kinds of collaboration tool, right, becomes even more important. I think this is something that you need to convey that message. This message should be conveyed to everyone who's in that business. How do you now meet people? How do you now promote your product? How do you now market your product at scale? Mm-hmm. And the other thing the other point I want to take you to is that I know the MLM business is like meeting people one-on-one and all that, but one of the better ways that you can meet people and also aggregate interest, right, is the ability to use social media. Think of what the power of Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all these available social media has actually opened opportunity to all of us. Now, I'm thankful there's a thing called LinkedIn and also Twitter, because it now gives me an opportunity to share the good news at scale. Like if I were to share this information like one-on-one, it will take me forever to share to 10,000 people, right? I can do one-on-one to 5 people, 5 of my best friends, but I can't do 50,000, I can't do 100,000. But with social media, it's possible. With Instagram, with Facebook, with Twitter, with LinkedIn, with all kinds of this stuff, it's all quite possible now. And the more reason that we need to be on social media, we need to be more tech savvy than before. Prior to COVID, maybe not so tech savvy, but now we need to be very tech savvy. You need to start thinking how to order online. You now start to think of how to order takeaway online. You now need to start thinking how to use collaboration tools. So COVID in some way, supercharged digital. globally. Like, in a way, I mean, the good thing about, I mean, not that COVID is good. The good thing about COVID with digital transformation is it accelerated digital transformation. Really, suddenly everyone, including young and old, need to use digital transformation. My daughter is an expert using Zoom now, right? She's only like 12 years old. She's an expert using collaboration tool, because and her entire e-learning, entire classes now for the last 4 months has been at home. And you can only function well if you know how to use all these tools. Now, so COVID in some context, right, has kind of like helped. Besides, I'm sure there are things that we don't want to talk about COVID, but the good thing about COVID is that really has accelerated this understanding for many people, young and old, and it becomes now even more important.
Absolutely, and this ties up to your previous topic about the adoption of 5G, which will also helps to accelerate the use of social media during this pandemic period and the speed
Absolutely.
of the digital transformation.
Absolutely. I mean, 5G is more important than ever, simply because now, prior to COVID, right, Zoom has got less than 50 million users. Now Zoom has got more than 200 million users in 2 months. Now think of the amount of stress, think of the amount of data stress that each of us are putting on a network. And sometimes you can't blame why the connection is not good, why there's a drop off. It's also because so many people are on Zoom these days. And now three of us are already on Zoom, right? So 5G will take the infrastructure to another level, so that we will be able to have this Zoom call, right, in the future more stable. I'm certain. Right now, there's a lot of stress. So 5G, hopefully, that will take us another level globally, not just China, globally.
Now that we've established that social media and digital marketing is the future of marketing, basically, how can you determine which platform is best to you? I mean, from your point of view.
Now, this is how I use social media. I think each and every one individual has to decide, how they want to use social media. There's a very clear usage of social media in terms of the audience. Like, Facebook is very much like pictures of you and your friends and your family. So very casual. So it's a social media for people who wants to share casually with friends and also immediate friends and family. Not so much business, but more casual. It's all about your life. Then you got Instagram. These are celebrity. You literally just show pictures of not reality. So every time when you look at Instagram, right, it's not reality, not true. I think that's Instagram. So Instagram is a lot of to do with branding, awareness, and all that. But again, what you see on Instagram is what you see is what you don't get. Okay, that's Instagram.
Okay.
Then then you have LinkedIn. LinkedIn is very professional. It's strictly, think of it. It's not just a professional CV. It's beyond a professional CV. It allows you. Now, to me, I think in terms of my effort, I put a lot of effort on LinkedIn and Twitter. Now, for two reasons. Because I use social media mainly just for business. I don't waste time on sharing what I eat yesterday, where do I go tomorrow, and all that. So I don't have time for that. It's not that there's nothing wrong. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong. Like 95% of people does that on Facebook, and then like 99% people share on Instagram just to get fame. There's nothing wrong. That's just your choice, right? But for me, because I'm just focusing on what I want to do, so I actually spend a great deal of my time, like 95% of my time, on LinkedIn and Twitter, simply because I think that's where my business is all about. So, i.e., I meet a lot of like-minded people within artificial intelligence, and I get added onto LinkedIn, and I also share. Now, I don't just populate my CV, my online CV. What I do is I also share information about what I read, about artificial intelligence, about 5G, and so forth, on everything pertaining to what I do on LinkedIn, and I double that up with Twitter, because Twitter is like it's like a news feed. He has like a news feed where he has got a very powerful tool that shares, right, almost instantly to many people. Like if you post something, like technically speaking, the 300 million people on Twitter can actually see it. But again, like I said, you need to post regularly because there's so much feed, it gets lost in the feed. So you have to spend a lot of time reposting again and again. Unlike Twitter, unlike LinkedIn, where the story stays on the feed for a longer time. So again, you need to understand. I've been using this for like social media to me. For like I've been using it for about close to 10 years already. So I kind of like know the behavior of all this social media, and I know even what is the best time to post for my audience. What is the best topic to post? What kind of topics I will most likely get the most likes and the most engagement. I kind of know because I know my audience what they like, right? So you need to learn all that. But again, it all depends on what you're doing. Like for example, if you are selling something, a product, to your friends, pushing to your friends, maybe Facebook will work very well. That's why a lot of people use Facebook for MLM, because it's a lot easier. I think you can pair it up with Instagram. So Instagram and Facebook pair together, and then you use that two media, right, to generate your interest. Because you can also reach out to many people, especially Instagram. People can add you and follow you quite easily. So I think depending again, what is your purpose? Again, that purpose, right? The purpose that you set up in your mind, that will decide on which social network you will use at the end of the day.
The latest social media report and recommendation actually say that TikTok from China is actually going to be the next big thing in social media. Do you agree, Edwin?
Now, again, as I've said earlier, again, all depends on your purpose. Now, it's very hard to sell your product just by using TikTok. It's very hard. Now, you can do it with YouTube, right? But then again, YouTube can only do as far as this. Again, when you use video is great for awareness, great to tell a story. But conversion, you need to still send it to a site to convert. Nobody will convert by just looking at TikTok. I mean, if you look at your behavior when you watch it, TikTok is more like an entertainment thing, right? You look at, wow, this is entertaining. I want to find out more now. When you look at the marketing, right, you don't just look at a product and buy. Very unlikely. The only place that you do that is on Amazon. And the reason why on Amazon, when we do that, is because of recommendation. The recommendation powered by AI kind of like, supercharge you from going from understanding the product straight into buying. But that's only on Amazon. But when you look at other media, when you look at the behavior of consumers do not just watch TV and buy. You don't do that. You watch to get interest. Then you start to consider. And to consider, right, you need to go and read more. Like I will go and search on Google, the product, right? Or I'm going to ask my friends, hey, have you heard of this product? No, there is this so-called, we call it the consumer purchase journey. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So in the consumer purchase journey, right, as I was saying earlier, there's the awareness at the top where the interest is being generated, maybe TikTok, maybe YouTube, right? Then that will lead to, say, the website or the Facebook site or whatever site that you have generated. So that will help you in considering the product before finally making your so-called purchase. Now, TikTok is very suitable when you're talking about generating awareness. So i.e. your salesperson who is selling whatever product, right, will get on TikTok and talk about it. Do something. Again, TikTok is not your formal, someone gets onto it, pick up a mic and say, I've got this product to sell. That shit will never sell, man. It has to be fun. Now, when you create a product, when you create a video, that video has to be fun. It's not like you and me, we're carrying a mic and say, this is a great product. Buy my cup, man. Nobody's going to buy a cup, man, right? But it has to be something fun. So there is this thing, when you talk about content marketing, when you talk about generating a good content, now let me require some thinking. So TikTok is actually a very good channel, but you need to build a good content, a fun content to at least generate the first interest, to drive that interest, right, to a website, drive that interest to a search, drive that interest to somewhere. It can't convert on TikTok. But I agree with you. You can do one thing, which is actually building that so-called awareness, building that initial interest.
It can also help build what you call the self-branding per se, correct?
Can. That's what a lot of we call it the influencer do on TikTok, is that they become an influencer. They become, you know, a desirable brand because they have created very good content.
Mm-hmm.
So people who create good content, you follow them because you find it very funny. You find it, you know, you can relate to them very well, or you can learn something. So there's always a value to, now when you think of a content that you want to develop, the question that you ask yourself is that, what's the value that you're giving to your audience? Think of that. What's your value? You cannot create a content to sell. If your objective is just to sell, then it becomes very hard sell. Hard sell is very difficult to sell on social media. You have to give back something for someone to follow you, right? Could it be like I said earlier, right? You are teaching someone something.
Mm-hmm.
You're sharing your knowledge, right? So think of the content. So when you get embark each and every one of them onto social media, right? Teach them content marketing. Not just go up and say, you know, I've got this product, buy it, right? That won't sell. He's not going to end up with lots of followers for sure.
And you know what, Elvin will be the most authoritative person to speak about this, because he even been voted one of the top 10 top influencer in the AI industry.
Well, just to give our audience a little bit of, there are so many things that you can do on social media. You can post pictures, you can post things online, whatever basically floats your boat. But as an entrepreneur, what are the basic social media etiquettes that they should know or they should be aware of?
Well, if being an entrepreneur, you got to ask yourself, I know you're selling something. Now, I know you're trying to sell. Every one of us are trying to sell something. But before we sell it something, right, we should ask ourselves, if we want to post something, right, what's the value that we are giving to people? Real value, not the product as a value. What are we giving back? I'm sure when the same question I'm going to ask you the same, when you look at any video, any content, right, the first thing is that, what's the value from the video? What's the value from the content? Now, if you can't answer that, right, if you're not giving value, then the next thing is that, why would I want to read your content? Why would I want to follow you? You got to think of the value. Now, and that value has to be consistent. It's not like today I'm giving you this value, tomorrow I'm giving you something else. So your message has to be consistent. Like, I can't be sharing AI today, or I can't be sharing technology today, right? Tomorrow I turn around and start sharing that's non-tech related. And I start sharing construction. I start sharing manufacturing, non-related. So it has to be consistent. And that builds into relevancy. Because someone who follows you, it's also because we are like-minded. And believe me, people who follow you on social media, they are very much like you on the interest. Very, very, very similar. So if you start to talk about things that is of non-interest to him, the likelihood of him dropping off following you is very high. Always think your audience. The first thing that you do is not think of yourself, but to think of your audience. So, and be yourself, yeah. And that's very key in social media, because the power of social media is because of you. You are the power of social media, and that you need to be yourself, and that is very important, because most people are trying to be someone else or someone. Now, be yourself, and especially when you're selling, right? It's all about personal touch and reaching out and being very personal about it. I think that is to sum up. And again, I want to stress this: there is no one single formula. Believe me. And sometimes you ask yourself, why in the world someone has got 500,000 followers and I've got like 5? Or what did he do right? And I don't. And even if I copy exactly what he did on the same posting, why is it I'm not reaching 500,000? Right. There's always reason to it, right? And on top of doing it right, sometimes you need a bit of a dash of luck as well, right? And again, it's a chemistry thing. Someone just like you, right?
Mhm.
And when you look at Alibaba Jack Ma, right? When you look at him, a lot of people, always start to think, how in the world a guy like him become so successful? And if you have seen him for the first time, you would not have imagined him to be the founder of a very successful company, and you wouldn't even imagine him being very wise. But having seen him over and over again, and spoke over and over again, and being himself, right? You started to fall in love with him, like his thinking, like his wisdom. Very similar. And I think that's the charisma that you need to extend in the social media.
That's a very powerful advice, Elvin. Thank you for that.
Welcome.
So people post on social media, our distributors post on social media, and one cannot help receive criticisms while advertising their products on social media. So how, as an entrepreneur, would you handle this correctly, or how would you position yourself?
Oh, you have to live with it, man. I get a lot of criticism. While I also get a lot of compliment, I do get very nasty, very red. Now, in situation where I share my opinion, where I take side. Now, there are times I take side. I took side in terms of a particular opinion that I took side, that I get criticized. And initially when I started, I mean, this was years back, I found it very hard to accept criticism. I felt like maybe I should have maybe I should have blocked that guy off. Maybe I should cancel that guy, or maybe I should even delete that line off. I actually thought about it all kinds of ways. Initially, I actually blocked those followers who are not on my side. But later now in life, there's always going to be people, as I've said this earlier, there's going to be people who are agreeing with you, and there's always going to be people who disagree with you. And sometimes it's good to have people disagreeing with you, because when people disagree with you, then you see the other side of the story. Like if you are with like-minded people all the time, you tend to think that you're right all the time, because Mr. Yap will be telling you, "Oh, you're right, Alvin, you're right," because we've been friends for 32 years. But it's good to have people tell you, "Alvin, I disagree," or I think there's another opinion to it, or there's another side to it. So take it with a pinch of salt. And this is social media. You don't know them. They're not even your friend, right? And so it's taken me a bit of time to kind of condition myself to start to think. I need to be more flexible when it comes to criticism, right? Live with it, and keep an open mind. Maybe that opinion may not be wrong after all, right? But believe me, it's not easy, because you tend to think that I am right all the time, and how and I'm sharing something, and I'm doing my best, and doing my best to share. Why is that people is against me? But the reality is that there's always going to be people talk back about 5G, people talk bad about mobile phone. I mean, this has been going on for years, but there are always going to be people who's going to disagree. So live with it.
Now, Elvin, a bit of a motivational advice from you, and it's all about you. 15 years ago, I knew that you went to China, and you went there without knowing a single word of Mandarin. And growing up together, I know that you are not really Chinese per se. You were more Western mindset, just like I am. Even until today, I can't speak Mandarin. But you managed to survive in that country right from the start without knowing a single word of Mandarin, the culture, and you have made your way to, at one point of time, you were even one of the head of mobile in Google, and now being a top position in Reprise in China. So what is the motivation behind it, and what advice would you give to everyone who is struggling for the first time?
I think if I were to sum it up, right, it's hungry. Now, if you're hungry for something, it's just like if you're starving, you eat anything. You will eat anything, right? You will eat literally anything that's being offered to you. So when I first came to China, I was very hungry. I was very hungry to do well. I was hungry to learn. I was hungry to understand China better. I was fascinated with the language, though I know nothing about the language. I've never learned the language. I must say, till today, it's still the hardest language to learn. Also because the way Chinese character is being designed and being structured, it's like every single character is unique. It's not like English where you combine 26 alphabet to make up one word. Like Chinese, one character is one word, unique all the time. And that makes it even harder. And also because the other one is to learn how to speak the language, it's very, very hard. But to sum it up, right, it's all about hungry. I was hungry to succeed in understanding China. I started now, I went to very basic. I went to as basic as learning the history of China. I mean, I look Chinese, right? Never knew the history of China. I never knew I heard of the dynasty. I heard of all this history of China that stretched back 5,000 years, right? But I have no clue. So that was the first thing I learned. I learned the history of China, where I then start to realize, my God, I have not been very Chinese. and that was the basic. That was, so to understand China, you need to understand the history. And that's the same applies to any nation. I bet if you want to understand Philippines, you need to understand history. And the same applies to Africa. And the same applies to the United States or even Europe. So I went back to basic. I learned about it. I spent, weeks and weeks, just to, read the entire Wikipedia on China history. Not a book, yeah. Luckily, we were very lucky we had Wikipedia. I went down to the basic. I was very blessed. I have a very large group of Chinese friends who then spoke only Mandarin. I forced them, every one of them, to only speak Mandarin to me. Only Mandarin to me. And and my Mandarin was so poor that I could initially I could only respond in English, but every time when I respond in English, I start to write their response back to me in Chinese. That was bit by bit. So think of it, right? I learned the Chinese character for cup, the Chinese character for bottle. Now that was how I learned. So it took me almost maybe less than a year to learn the very basic, like elementary. Within a year, I was like a student from an elementary school. So I could understand, speak very basic, order my food, get by and all that. But to get to a level of business communication, that took me a long time. And believe me, I suffer like hell, man. Now, to get to where you want to be, right? I mean, success in life, you're gonna cross a lot of. It's difficult. It's very challenging. It's very tough. Really, literally tough. I always tell people, the minute you can argue with people using that language, you are already an expert. Because to argue, you need to be able to respond very quickly. So the day when I could argue with a Chinese person in Chinese, right, I knew my Mandarin has reached, a decent level already. Because prior to that, I can't even have like all a conversation. So it's the same in Africa. I mean, it's the same everywhere. It's the same in any other languages. But if you ask me, it's all because of hungry. I want to understand. I want to stay here. I want to be able to like conduct meeting, speak to people, and being able to raise my Chinese level of Chinese, right, to communicate at least to a business communication level of English, Chinese. I came to China 15 years ago, and I started in a company that does mobile marketing. Imagine this was 15 years ago. There was no smartphone. This was like Nokia phone that Mr. Yap was talking about. Mm-hmm. Old Nokia phone. I in fact worked at Nokia for a short time. So think of it, right? I had this opportunity at work at Nokia where I learned everything about the Nokia phone. And obviously the company collapsed 5 years later because of the change in landscape, of the change in the mobile dynamics. So if I track back my 15 years in China, it's all about being hungry to learn about new technology, hungry to learn about AI, hungry to learn about emerging. To me, these are all knowledge, and it will pass. everything that I learned 15 years ago, I can't apply them. I mean, let's be very candid. What I learned at Nokia, I could not apply them because there's no application for it. And what I learned at Google then, when I look back now, I can't apply them because Google has moved so much far ahead. So you can only continue to sprint. You can't look back. There's nothing to look back. It's not like before, right? I remember when I was a kid, my dad said, oh, you need to work long enough because then you have got lots of experience. But if you start to think about it these days, you know, experience is not that important. I'm not saying it's not important at all. It's not as important as it used to be because everything has changed. Now, if you compare yourself with a kid that just came up from university, right, on social media, he may be better off than you. Like maybe Gladys will know a lot more than me because they have grown in an era where everything is I. It's an iPhone. It's whatever I. It's E. It's whatever E, right? We were growing up playing marbles, man, Mr. Yap. We were growing up, you know, playing toys that we created ourselves. So when you look at experience, these are now a lot of my staff are very young people. They are under 30 years old. And the reason why I hire young people is because these are areas that they are a lot better than I do. I can't catch up to that level. No way, right? Again, when you look at technology, you have to be at the forefront. Don't get emotional. I always say this. Never get emotional with technology because it doesn't stay with you. At some point, it will disappear. At some point, that love will go away. And then you meet something new. Just like how, remember, Mr. Yap, we were, wow, 3G, man. We were like celebrating 3G. Now, nobody talks about 3G now, right? Right? And then now we are all talking about 5G, man. Oh, how 5G will revolutionize and give us self-driving car, autonomous cars, you know, smart city. Soon, nobody will talk about 5G. Soon, nobody will talk about AI because AI is inbuilt. Like AI is everything. AI is it's just like in the past, I remember we always talk about mobile something, mobile marketing, mobile phone, mobile something. Nowadays, we don't talk about mobile because everything is mobile. In my last 15 years, I've seen so many technologies, man. I've lost touch with all of them that probably started 15 years ago, right? Now we're talking about things that I've never talked about. I never talked about AI 15 years ago. Never talked about 5G 15 years ago. At the time, it was still websites, portal, right? So don't get in love. I mean, you need to embrace it. There's no love. It will move with times. So going back to Mr. Yap, if you ask me, there's one word to coin this out: hungry. If you are hungry with whatever that you do very well. Like MLM, same thing. You teach people to be hungry, right? You teach them to be, you know, if you're hungry to do better, you'll do better. Same, likewise. I was very hungry. Now, but having said that, am I as hungry as before? I'm still very hungry. But the hunger is different now because I'm learning different things. So the hungry can be used in different contexts now.
Now, thank you, Elwin, for this fantastic sharing. And it is really true to what I have always said to all our distributors worldwide. And that is always to remain hungry. Because I always believe that a lot of success factor today is actually hampered by the fact that people lose their hungriness. They are too comfortable with what they have. They always have something to fall back on. And that's why they actually fail to remain hungry for further success. I believe you can also see this in a lot of countries today. The developed countries has become too developed, too overconfident, and they have actually stopped their country from progressing further. And being really, really hungry for success, I believe it is also about being resilient, being determined, and being focused on what you want. And that is, to me, what is being hungry all about. Now, lastly, I think it is by coincidence that 2 days ago, I actually put a post onto my Facebook page that talk about past experiences. And true to what you have said, I believe today's society, you can no longer use your past experience to bring you to the next era. And especially during this time, during the pandemic, whatever that you have known will no longer apply because the pandemic has shifted the paradigm, the matrix of how business should be done today. So it is no longer the past experience, but it is the learning of new experiences, new skill sets, and new knowledge that will be able to bring you to the next millennium. So having said that, I really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much, Mr. Alvin Fu, for coming onto this show. And all your inputs are really valuable, not only to all our distributors, but to Emery as a corporation itself. And I now realize how important is it for the next 10 years, I will truly focus on digital transformation. Thank you again, Alvin Fu. Over to you guys.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yap. And of course, thank you so much, Mr. Alvin, for giving us a moment of your precious time to be here with us during our President Special for Immerpreneur. Actually, this is the first President Special, and we're very lucky to have you right here. Now, we hope that our audience has enjoyed their time here today as much as we did. Now, we've heard a lot of inspiring and powerful, mind-blowing pieces from Mr. Alvin himself, talking about the age of digitalization, about Africa as well. Now, Mr. Alvin, we all wanted to find out from a person like you, if you still understand Africa despite not being able to physically go to Africa. So we prepared a special segment, and we'll be asking you just 5 questions about Africa. Are you ready?
Okay, go ahead.
All right. I like this. He's ready. All right, let's start. Number 1. What is the largest country in Africa by size?
Largest African country. Can't be South Africa, right?
Next.
Okay. Which one is the correct answer? Is it
Algeria? It's the
Algeria?
10th,
Okay.
yeah, it's the 10th largest in the world as well.
Okay, Algeria. I will remember that.
It's in North Africa.
Yeah. Number 2. Which is the most populous country in Africa?
Nigeria?
Awesome. Perfect. And Nigeria is with 195 million. It counts for 15.98% of the total African population. And basically, it's also the 7th most populous country in the world. Got it right. Next
Right.
one. What is the capital city of Côte d'Ivoire?
Well, I have no idea, man.
Bing.
I'm not sure. What is it?
Okay, there are unlike the other countries, there are 2 recognized capital cities for Côte d'Ivoire. The first one is Yamoussoukro. It's the political and administrative capital, 4th largest city in the country. The second one is its economic capital, and that's Abidjan. Okay.
Okay.
Next one. Luanda is the capital city of which country?
Rwanda.
Luanda.
As in Luanda, right?
Right.
Rwanda. Is it Rwanda?
Bing.
I have no idea.
It's Angola, a port city
Okay.
west coast of southern Africa. So Luanda is the
Okay.
metropolitan area, right?
Not bad. I've only got one right out of 4.
And
Okay,
last
last one.
one. What is the primary language of Ethiopia?
French?
Bing.
It's Amharic. Amharic is an Ethiopian Semitic language. It's the first language for the Amharas.
Okay.
It's
that's
okay,
what
Alvin.
No, that's what I was saying. Again, in life, right? You can never learn enough, and I just learned something new. So wrong, there's nothing wrong with getting it wrong, because every time when there's a wrong, when you make mistake, right? That's where you know you're learning.
Absolutely,
Right.
that's the right spirit, Alvin. Like I said, we are not trying to test your intelligence, but we are just doing a short survey on finding out how much people know about Africa. All right.
Well, the
Thank you so much
reality is
again,
that
Alvin.
not much, not much.
1 hour of 5 is still not too bad.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Mr. Alvin for you. Thank you so much for being on the show. Mirians, stay tuned for more.